Good morning, children. So yesterday we were doing the nucleus, and in nucleus I told you the detailed structure of nucleus, where I showed you the annulus, I showed you the inner membrane, which is fibrillar lamina, which is made up of electron-rich proteins. Then let's come to, I told you the shape of the nuclear pore. It is octagonal. The diameter is 800 angstrom, and the number of pores present in a nucleus is about 1000 to 10,000. This is what I told you, that the about nuclear pore. I told you that the shape is octagonal. Shape is octagonal. Then I told you that the number of nuclear number in the nucleus, their number in the nucleus, it varies. It can be from 1000 to 10,000. They can be 1000 to 10,000 number, and diameter of nuclear pore is about 800 angstrom. This is what I told you yesterday. Then I told you actually what is there in the nucleus. In the nuclear pore, if this is the nuclear pore, this is the nuclear pore, we have a structure, ring-like structure here, and this ring-like structure has only this area through which the transport takes place. This complete diameter of this complete is 800 angstrom, and this area through which this the transport takes place is 500 angstrom actually. But we say that the nucleus is 800 angstrom in diameter because the complete annulus, this structure is annulus. This is nuclear membrane, outer and inner membrane, and this complete structure is known as annulus, ANNULUS. And here we have the central structure through which the tube-like structure, which is filled up with nucleoplasmin, a gel-like substance which is known as nucleoplasmin. And through this nucleoplasmin, the transport takes place, transport of substance from outside to inside. It is through this nucleoplasmin. Transport takes place through this nucleoplasmin. So this is what happens. And I also told you that this is the outer membrane of nucleus. Means the nucleus is like this. I mean, it will be like this. Then again, one pore here, this will be like this. This inner membrane has one more thin membrane here, which is known as fibrillar lamina. So this is what I told you about nuclear pore yesterday. Now I'll tell you something about nucleoplasm. Nucleoplasm is the ground substance which is present inside the nucleus. If this is nucleus, inside we have, if this is the cell and the nucleus, we have this nucleoplasm in which we have these chromatin fiber. So this nucleoplasm, I'll tell you something about this. The pH of this nucleoplasm is alkaline. Alkaline, that means if we see the pH, it is about 7.2 to 7.4, which is alkaline in nature. This is rich in enzymes. The nucleoplasm is rich in enzymes. And which enzymes? Rich in enzymes. And which particular enzymes is present here? This is rich in enzymes, number one, for replication of DNA. It is rich in enzyme for replication of DNA, and that enzyme which is required for replication of DNA is DNA polymerase. DNA polymerase, this enzyme which is required for the replication of DNA. Replication means new strands are formed on the old strand. So this is required, DNA polymerase. The second thing, it is rich in the enzyme for the synthesis of messenger RNA, because inside the nucleus messenger RNA is also formed. So for the synthesis of RNA, enzyme, rich in enzyme for replication of DNA and for synthesis of RNA. And which enzyme is required for the synthesis of RNA? It is RNA polymerase. It is rich in RNA polymerase also. Besides this, what else is present in the nucleus? It is the third thing which is there is divalent cations. Divalent ions, we can say that it is rich in divalent ions like magnesium, like manganese. It is rich in this also. So we have the nucleoplast. This is the gel-like substance which is present inside the nucleus, and it is rich in enzymes. It is rich in divalent ions. Its pH is alkaline, which is about 7.2 to 7.2. Now we come to another structure which is present inside the nucleus. Suppose this is nucleus. Inside the nucleus, we have this nucleoplast. Then we have chromatin fibers. And besides this, we have a dark colored body here. And this dark colored body is known as nucleolus. Nucleolus. So I'll tell you something about this dark colored body, which is nucleolus. What is this nucleus? Nucleolus, what is its function? This was first of all discovered by Fontana. Discovered by Fontana, Fontana, in eels, in the cells of eels. So in where? Cells of eel. Eel is a fish. There it was discovered. The term nucleolus, it was given by, term nucleolus was given by another researcher which was known as Bowman. So this is about the discovery and the term given by. Now, when we see the structure of nucleolus, we think that it is surrounded by a membrane, but basically it is not like this. The nucleolus is not surrounded by a membrane. The nucleolus is a non-membranous structure. Non-membranous structure. Non-membranous means it is a non-membranous structure. Non-membranous means this structure do not have membrane. No membrane is present, do not have membrane. So it is a non-membranous structure. So why it appears like this? It appears like this because it is made up of special structures which are known as nucleolus chromatin fibers. Nucleolus chromatin fibers. These nucleolus chromatin fibers, these are arranged in such a way that it gives an appearance that it is bound by membrane. It gives an appearance that it is bound by membrane. So that means, how do they, this is the nucleolar fiber. Nucleolar chromatin fiber. So if the nucleolar chromatin fibers, they are arranged in such a way, these are nucleolar chromatin fibers. If you see, these are nucleolar chromatin fibers, and these nucleolar chromatin fibers, they are arranged in such a way that it gives an appearance that it has membrane. So these nucleolar chromatin fibers, they are arranged in such a way that it gives an appearance that it is surrounded by a membrane, although it is a non-membranous structure. That means no membranes are present. Now, the function of this, few more things which I want to tell you is, inside we have this ground substance, and besides this we have some granules of some granular structure which are darkly stained, such granular These are granules of ribosomal RNA. So this is first, I'll write, this is nucleolar chromatin fiber, nucleolar chromatin fiber. Then we have this ground substance, which is pars amorpha. Then we have these darkly stained granules, which are granules of ribosomal RNA. Ribosomal RNA. Three types of RNAs are there. Out of that, one type is ribosomal RNA. So this is the structure of nucleolus. It appears like this. Now, what is the function of nucleolus? Function of nucleolus is number one, synthesis of ribosomal RNA, synthesis of ribosomal RNA, and the second function of it is storage of ribosomal RNA. Synthesis of ribosomal RNA and storage of ribosomal RNA. So this is the function of this. Anything in this, in the nucleolus and nucleoplast part which you could not understand, you can ask me. Yes, beta. Any query in this, you can ask. Yes, bache. Or I'll start with the next topic. Yes. Now, okay. Any query in this? Yes. No doubts. Fine. Yes. Bache, you can see when you see the video. Okay, Siksha, I have. Yes, I can read the text which you have sent. It is clear, and to others also, no doubt. To Rohan, fine. Others also, beta. Yashika, Ananya, fine. Okay. So, what about Sarthak Mahajan, Lalit? Sarthak Mahajan and Lalit, I do not get any feedback from your side. I must, beta. Yes. Sarthak Mahajan, Lalit. Are you there, Sarthak Mahajan and Lalit? Zainab. They're not there. Fine. Bache, the board is clear to you? Bache, the board is clear to you? Okay, fine. So now I'll start with the next one, which is ribosomes. Ribosomes, and then we'll be left with one or two more things, and then this chapter will be over. And you can let me know on the WhatsApp group that which chapter you want me to discuss with you now. Okay. So I start with the next topic, which is ribosomes. Have you heard of ribosomes? With which organelles are they attached? And if they are only found in attached to some organelle, or they are found free also, lying on the cytoplasm? Yes. Any answer? You can unmute yourself. I have given you the permission to unmute yourself. Yes. Are they found free endoplasmic reticulum and cytoplasm? Yashika is saying, Rohan, yeah. Yes. If we say that ribosomes are attached, they are attached with endoplasmic reticulum, and because of the presence of endoplasmic reticulum in, because of the presence of ribosomes in endoplasmic reticulum, the endoplasmic reticulum are said to be rough endoplasmic reticulum. These ribosomes are found free also, lying on the cytoplasm where they are not attached to any organelle. Now, beta, here when we start talking about this, we will start with the term. Who gave this term ribosome? The term ribosome was given by a researcher, and the name of the researcher was Palade, Palade. He was the one who gave the term, and because he gave the term, the ribosomes are sometimes also known as pallid particles. They are also known as pallid particles. They are also known as pallid particles. Now, another thing, they are first from where they were isolated. They were isolated by another researcher, and the name of the researcher was Claude. And from where they were isolated? They were isolated from the cytoplasm of microsomes. They were first isolated. We can write here first isolated. They were first isolated from the cytoplasm of microsome. Then there were another scientists, Robinson and Brown. What they did, they were the first one to observe this in the root cells of Visia fibia. So observed by first observed by another scientist. The name is Robinson and Brown. Robinson and Brown in root cells of Vicia fabia. I'll write here Vicia fabia, Fabia. So here these were first of all observed. So the term given by Palade, first isolated from the cytoplasm of microsomes by Claude, and in the first observed in the root cells of Vicia fabia by Robinson and Brown. Now, something about where they are found. Where they are found, first of all, I'll tell you this, where they are found, or their location, you can say where they are located. Their location, the ribosomes. The ribosomes are found in both type of cells. They are present in eukaryotic or prokaryotic cells. They are found in both eukaryotic and prokaryotic cell. When we say eukaryotic cells, they are found in all the eukaryotic cells. I'm writing only eukaryotic cells except for two. Except when we talk of eukaryotic cells, these are found in all the eukaryotic cells except for two. And what are those two exceptions? Those two exceptions are mature RBCs. They are not found in mature RBCs. RBCs are red blood cells, and they are also not found in mature sperms. Mature sperms and mature RBCs do not have these ribosomes. They are absent in mature RBCs and mature sperms. Now, what about the prokaryotes? Where they are present? The prokaryotes, in all the prokaryotes, they are present. Present in all the prokaryotes. Present in all prokaryotic cells. Now, these ribosomes, if we see the ribosomes can be of two types. They can be attached ribosomes, or they can be free ribosomes. Two types we have: attached ribosomes or free ribosomes. Attached ribosomes means they are attached in or in association with some organelle. they are attached or in association with some organelle. Free means they lie free on the cytoplasm. They lie free on the cytoplasm. Now, attached. Attached, the example of attached which we have is attached to the membrane of, where they are attached to the membrane of endoplasmic reticulum. Like this is, I'm just making one. Okay, this is endoplasmic reticulum, and these ribosomes are attached like this on endoplasmic reticulum. Plus one more organelle where these endoplasmic reticulum are attached. Can you name that organelle? Besides endoplasmic reticulum, there is one more organelle where these ribosomes are attached. Can you name that organelle, beta? Yes, can you name that second organelle where these Golgi? Golgi do not have ribosomes. No, not Golgi. Any other organelle where these ribosomes are attached? If you remember. Yes, beta. Anybody? Yes, try to answer, try to memorize. ER, I have already written. Amrita, root nodules. No, beta. Those are nodules. Those are not ribosomes. Those are special structures known as nodules in which the bacteria lie. But one more organelle where the ribosomes are attached. Anybody who knows? Yes? Harsha Sanil? Deepika Sokhal? Nucleus. Yes, Yashika, it's nucleus. Yesterday only I made the diagram for you all. Not mitochondria, Rohan. Mitochondria do not have ribosomes. Nucleus. Yesterday only, if you remember, I made it like this. I made the, when I was making the nuclear membrane, I made the double walled nucleus. And then on this, I made it like this. If you remember, I made it like this. Yesterday, I don't know how many of you were present. So I made it on the nuclear membrane attached to the outer membrane of nucleus. So one is membrane attached to the membrane of endoplasmic reticulum and also to the outer membrane of nucleus, which I made like this. Yesterday I made it for you. I made the nucleus like this. If you remember, it was made like this, the outer membrane and the inner membrane, the outer membrane and the inner membrane. The nuclear pores, when I was showing you, I made it like this. These ribosomes. These are ribosomes. The larger subunit and the smaller subunit. So they are attached to the nucleus also. So two places where they are found, it is either there, endoplasmic reticulum, and another one we can find attached to the nucleus. Now, what is that particular cementing material which attaches it to the membrane of the endoplasmic reticulum or of the nucleus? It is a protein named protein named riboforin, PHORIN. This protein riboforin helps in attachment. This helps in attachment. This is the cementing material which helps in attachment to the various organelles. So riboforin is a protein which helps in attachment of this to the walls of these two organelles. So now I come to the free ribosomes. Okay, one more thing. Mitochondria, they are not attached to the wall through the outer surface. Of course, the mitochondria also has it. The plastids also has it, but they are present inside them. So, Rohan, at that time, my question was just to tell me if they are present on the outer surface, because mitochondria and plastids are autonomous bodies. So they also have it, but these are present inside them, not on the outer surface, attached to the outer surface. So other two organelles where they are present is, I'm just putting this. So mitochondria, empty is mitochondria and plastids. What type of body they are? Self-autonomous. Self-autonomous. So they also have it. They also have ribosomes in them, inside their ground substance or cytoplasm. So they also have it. Now, free ribosomes, where do they lie? They lie in the cytoplasm. So we don't have to tell anything. So if it is a cell, it is a nucleus. The free ribosomes, they lie on the cytoplasm like this. So this is a ribosome. So these are free ribosomes which lie on the cytoplasm. So this is one type of, distinguish the way we have distinguished the ribosomes, that they can be attached type or they can be free types. Now, one thing more, the ribosomes are of two types. This I'm going to tell you. Anything, if any query in this is required, because I'm going to erase it and write the next the next one next of from this topic. Yes. Yes, I'll proceed further. If any query in this, beta, anything you want to ask me in this. Okay. Okay. Yes, Rohan, Deepika. Yashika, is it clear? Okay. Priya, is it clear? Harsha, is it clear? Siksha? Okay, fine. Ankita Singh, fine. Okay, now I move on to the next one. So for that, I'll have to erase little. So the next one is another classification of ribosomes. Rather, ribosomes are of two types. Two types of ribosomes are there. Types. The ribosomes are of two types. We have already done it. One type is 70S type. Another type is 80S type. So two types of ribosomes are there, 70S and 80S. If you remember, when I taught you this chapter before, I told you what is this S. If anybody remembers, can you tell me what is this S? What does this S stands for? If you remember it. Yes, anybody remembers what is this 70S and 80S? What is the full form of this? What is this S? Sternberg's subunits. Okay. You are close to that, but actually, yes, sedimentation unit. Amrita, yes. Sedimentation, this S is sedimentation coefficient. Sedimentation coefficient. Or this is also known as Swedenborg's unit. Swedenborg's unit. This S is sedimentation coefficient or Swedenborg's unit. Now, beta, is the board clear to you, or blurred, or you are not able to see properly anything? You can just let me know. Is it clear to you? The board is clear, beta? The board is clear, bache? Yes, beta? Is the board clear? Okay. Now, bache, there are two types of ribosomes, 70S type and 80S types. This 70S type of ribosome is found in prokaryotes. Prokaryotes, that means bacteria. These are found in prokaryotes, and 80S is found in eukaryotes. Okay, now what is this sedimentation coefficient or Swedenborg's unit? Before I start with this, I'll have to let you know what is this sedimentation coefficient or Swedenborg's unit. Actually, when we take the ribosome in a test tube, and which test tube is this? Centrifuge test tube. And have you seen the centrifuge machine? You can unmute yourself, beta. Have you seen the centrifuge machines? In the pathology labs, we have a machine. So centrifuge machine, it is kept in chemistry lab also. If we see from the top, it appears to be like this. There is a lid over it, and we have many holes inside like this to insert the test tubes in it. So these test tubes are inserted in it, and then it is switched on. And when it is switched on, all this, they rotate at the very high speed. the test tubes inside the inside thing, it rotates at a very high speed, about 2000 and sometimes 5000 rotation per minute. 5000 rotation per minute, it rotates with a very high speed. So what the pathology lab people do, they take blood in it, and then they put whatever test they are doing, they put it inside these holes. These test tubes are inserted inside the holes, and then it is rotated. When it rotates, the blood gets, the blood cells, they come to the bottom, and the plasma, it comes at the top. So after centrifugation, what we get is all the blood cells here at the bottom, they all lie at the bottom, and at the top we get that transparent plasma. So from the blood, the plasma gets separated here, and the heavy material, which are the blood cells, they get sedimented. They come in the form of sediment, they lie down, they come and settle at the bottom. So this is what centrifugation does. And this process is known as, this is centrifuge machine, this is centrifuge tube, and the process is known as centrifugation. The process is known as centrifugation. So this is done. Now, when the centrifugation is done, I'll erase this also for you to make you understand. So when the centrifugation of ribosomes is done, when the ribosome is centrifuged, where in a centrifuge, in a centrifuge machine. So when it is centrifuged, centrifuged, what happens in the test tube? These ribosomes, they settle, and the rate by which they settle is known as sedimentation coefficient. The rate by which they settle is known as centrifugation, is known as sedimentation coefficient. The rate by which these ribosomes settle is known as sedimentation coefficient. So now what happens? They settle down, and the rate at which they settle is known as sedimentation coefficient. It is a unit of time. First thing is, it is a non-SI unit. Non-SI unit, and it is